Hi there. I just wanted to pop on and share a little realization that I've had yesterday after an amazing conversation with a group of women that I absolutely adore. And what I've realized is I am still kind of in the savior mode. And it looks a little different than typical um, victim, abuser, savior, because it's not necessarily people related. And what I'm looking for outside of myself in the, the, the perspective of looking for someone to save me. However, what I'm making reference to is being unsure of where home is. So I have moved cross country back and forth and have been in different places, and my husband and I have considered different areas to live. And where we're at now, we don't really love exactly where we are. It's a little more slow paced, which is kind of what we were originally looking for. But now that we're in it, we need something a little more lively. And I discussed the fact that my husband and I are very similar in the aspect of when we go somewhere, we can feel the energy of the place, and we'll talk about it almost immediately. Like, oh, within a minute, within a matter of minutes of driving to a new area, where it might feel a little more not hectic. It's not necessarily how vibrant and how many people and chaotic in that sense, but it's more the energy of the area that we feel. And so many times we'd be driving when we're on vacation or somewhere close to home, but somewhere we've never been before. We'll feel the energy shift and we mention it at the same time. And so with this new place that we're living now, it's like we don't feel that here, is kind of the conclusion that I had about why we don't feel like this is the place for us. However, what I realize is that everywhere that we've been, whether we've lived there or visiting, this shift in energy that we feel, it's not necessarily a place, one specific place. So, like, we've experienced this well in many different places, and it's just a certain area feels a little better than another area. So, my realization is there's not going to be this one set place that is like, oh, this is where we're going to live. Those energy shifts have been in many, many different places, but it's just a certain area within that place, if that makes sense. So I started to look a little bit deeper into my perspective as to what it is that I'm looking for. And what I realized is that that goes back to that savior energy. Like, there's going to be this one magical place that's like, oh, this is it, this is home. And it's looking for that safety and what feels right. But that's, again, that also another thing I've been working on for a very long time is that perfectionism. And I feel like that mindset, that box of this is the wrong place and this is the right place. So if I'm not in the right place, then I'm in the wrong place. And everything's in movement, everything is flowing. So I'm looking for this perfect place, and it's all around me. It is me. So it's one of those things where I feel like I've kind of come to this conclusion before, but it hasn't hit me in this specific way. So what does that mean for me now? Maybe I am living in the right place and I just have, there's just a different community here. Or maybe I'm not, and I have realized, of course, that I can always move. I love moving from one place to another. And once you do it once, it's kind of like, ooh, how exciting. You get to meet new people. But at the same time, now that I have a little one of my own, I think maybe I feel the pressure a little bit more to find that not forever home, but something more stable where we're creating our home for her safety and creating that place for her where, of course, anywhere with mom and dad are home, but it's nice to have that space that will be hers and she recognizes it and it's her space. So maybe it's a little bit of that playing into it as well. But that was a big realization for me. And what I want to do with my channel, because I don't want to be just that positive motivation all the time, like, oh yes, life is great, that because it can get toxic when it's just that band-aid of like we have to be in this place of perfection and happiness and joy all the time. I want to be authentic to the fluctuation of life, and I don't want to just sit here and tell you this is what you need to do, this is what works and this is what doesn't work, because there's never a one size fits all. So what I can contribute is just being vulnerable and sharing what I experience. So maybe you can learn something through me so you don't have to have that same experience. That's kind of the idea of what I'm thinking. And it gives me a place to be vulnerable and share what I'm thinking and feeling. And sometimes when I'm talking, I have realizations in the moment, and I'm sure you do too. This is very common, but it's noticing how things feel when you say them. And there will be a lot of times where I'll be talking about something and I'll give my perspective, and then as soon as I say that perspective, it doesn't quite feel right in the body. And that's why it's so important to express, because our bodies will tell us when something isn't right. I'll give an example. I was having a conversation with a dear friend of mine a couple years ago, and she was just having kind of a tough time. And I said, well, you just need to fake it till you make it. And as soon as I said it, it did not sit right with me. And she said, that doesn't sit right with me. And I was like, I expressed, as soon as I said it, it didn't feel right. So you kind of do a deep dive on that concept of fake it till you make it. However, I've had a conversation with someone else more recently, and for her, when I was doing a session, I got fake it till you make it. But it came from a totally different perspective. It wasn't like pretend that you're okay. It wasn't pretend that you're someone different than who you are. It was more of coming from the mindset of confidence and building her confidence. And so it wasn't like pretend to be something that you're not. It was more of just power through to who you want to be, in confidence, and being confident in a decision, or what's a better way to explain? It wasn't more of a necessarily confidence, but just being where you want to be. If you're not where you want to currently be, but it's what you're aiming for, and you just have to kind of pull yourself together and kind of see what it feels like to be where you want to be. So it wasn't more of like faking it till you make it, but that saying came up for her, and it just gave a different perspective on it. So again, one size doesn't fit all, and it was just this common saying that when I heard it, it opened my mind to a different perspective in the situation that she was in versus my first friend that I was talking about, where faking it till you make it was really about covering the authentic response to the situation, if that makes sense. I hope it is helpful. But I kind of feel like I've been rambling on. I just wanted to share my experience because that's what I have to offer. I don't have the answer for everything. There's no, again, back to that same thing, there's no one size fits all. So if I were to do a session with you, I could look deeper into your stuff and figure out what works best for you. because it might be different than what works best for me. However, sharing and expressing, it helps me as well as hopefully it helps you too. So I'm going to cut it off for here, right here for now. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you're having a wonderful day.